You have more ways to connect with people than any human being in history. You can reach anyone, anytime, from anywhere. And you are lonelier than any human being in history. Not sometimes, chronically, in a way that technology is supposed to have solved, but has instead made worse with every new platform. A Polish sociologist named Zygmunt Bauman spent the last decades of his life explaining exactly why. His answer, once you understand it, makes the loneliness make complete sense. And it starts with a metaphor so simple, so precise, that it becomes impossible to stop seeing it everywhere. Solid and liquid. Solid modernity, the world that existed before, had the properties of solid matter. It resisted pressure. It held its shape. It did not move on its own. You joined a company at 20 and retired there. Marriage was until death, not as a romantic ideal, but as a legal and social reality that functioned like gravity. You were born into a class, a community, a place, and those things defined you with the weight of stone. Liquid modernity, the world we now live in, has the properties of liquid. It flows. It adapts to whatever container it is poured into. It does not hold a shape for long. Jobs are temporary. Skills become obsolete in years, not generations. Identities are fluid. Communities are optional. Relationships are flexible. And everything that once felt permanent has been replaced by something that can be updated, upgraded, or deleted. This sounds like freedom. And Bauman does not deny that it is, partly. The rigidity of solid modernity was often suffocating. The fixed roles, the closed doors, the communities that held you but also constrained you. Liquid modernity opened those doors. But here is what nobody warned you about. What flows out through an open door is not only the thing that was imprisoning you. It is also the thing that was holding you together. And the deepest thing Bauman saw, the thing that explains the epidemic of loneliness, the epidemic of anxiety, the epidemic of relationship failure that defines the modern world, is what happens to love when it too becomes liquid. He called it liquid love. And it is the most precise description of modern relationships ever written. Here is the logic of liquid love, stated plainly. In a world organized around consumer choice, where everything is evaluated on its utility, where the response to a product that fails to satisfy is to return it and find a better one, relationships begin to follow the same logic. Not consciously, not deliberately. The logic seeps in, carried by culture, by the platforms that organize your social life, by the endless alternatives that make commitment feel irrational. Why commit to this person when there are 10,000 other people visible on an app? Why invest in repairing this friendship when the friction of repair is higher than the cost of simply drifting apart? Why tolerate the difficult parts of any human being when the system has designed the exit to be frictionless? Bauman made a distinction that cuts to the center of modern loneliness. The difference between a relationship and a connection. A relationship, in the genuine sense, is something that has weight, history, obligation, the specific knowledge of one specific person, accumulated over time, through difficulty, through the parts that were not easy. A connection is something you plug into and unplug from. No obligation, no history, no weight. Flexible, convenient, instantly available, instantly terminable. The modern world has replaced relationships with connections. And the replacement, Bauman says, is why you have 500 contacts and feel profoundly alone. Now stop. Because here is the part that makes this personal. Think about your own behavior in relationships. When a friendship gets difficult, when someone needs more from you than you expected, when the work of maintaining the relationship exceeds what feels reasonable, what do? And be honest. Because the first instinct, the one that liquid modernity has trained into you, is not to repair. It is to replace. Bauman observed this pattern with particular precision in the digital age. Dating apps, he said, are the most honest expression of liquid love ever built. You swipe through human beings like items in a catalog. If the item does not satisfy, you return it, without explanation, without accountability, without any of the friction that used to make exit costly enough to discourage it. Ghosting, disappearing from someone's life without acknowledgement, is not a failure of basic human decency. It is disposal without accountability. The emotional equivalent of throwing a product away without calling customer service. And here is the cruelest paradox Bauman identifies. The people doing this, the people ghosting, the people maintaining connections instead of relationships, the people optimizing their social lives like portfolios, are not cold. They are terrified. Liquid modernity has not produced people who do not want connection. It has produced people who want connection desperately and have been trained by the system to approach it in ways that make genuine connection impossible. You want depth. The system rewards breadth. You want permanence. The system punishes commitment. You want to be known fully by someone who has seen the difficult parts and stayed. And the system offers you the ability to curate a version of yourself, show it to thousands of people, and receive the simulation of being known from people who have only ever seen what you chose to show. Bauman also made a distinction between communities and networks that almost nobody has noticed the full significance of. A community, in the genuine sense, is solid. You do not choose everyone in it. You have to deal with the annoying neighbor, the uncle with opinions you hate, the colleague you never quite clicked with. That difficulty, that friction, is not a flaw. It is the process by which tolerance develops, by which genuine care for people unlike you becomes possible, by which you become someone capable of sustaining commitments you did not choose. A network, by contrast, is liquid. You curate it entirely. You add people who interest you. You remove people who do not. Every node in the network is optional. And the result, over time, is a social world composed entirely of people who reflect you back to yourself, who require nothing difficult from you, and who can be removed the moment they do. This is not community. It is a mirror that changes shape whenever the reflection becomes uncomfortable. Bauman was born in Poland in 1925 into a Jewish family. He fled to the Soviet Union when the Nazis arrived. He returned to Poland after the war, built a career, was expelled from his university position in 1968 during an anti-Semitic purge by the communist government, emigrated to the UK, and spent the rest of his life at the University of Leeds. He died in 2017. He was 91. He never used social media. He watched it arrive, and he was not surprised. He had already described it. The question he leaves you with is not about technology. It is about what you are willing to endure. Because genuine love, genuine friendship, genuine belonging, all require exactly the things that liquid modernity has trained you to avoid. Weight, obligation, the inability to exit without cost, the experience of being known, including the parts of you that are not curated, not optimized, not your best self performing for an audience. The parts that are simply you. The loneliness you feel in a world more connected than any that has ever existed is not a personal failure. It is the correct response to a world that has replaced the thing you need with a very convincing simulation of it. Bauman called it liquid love. You called it normal. This is Philochemy. We will see you in the next one.